Hi everyone, welcome to Illustrious Media. My name is Fu Xiao, and tonight we want to take a look at the new news that's coming out from Universal about director, producer, and writer James Wan developing a monster movie for Universal. So, all the major trade journals for entertainment dropped this one. I think with the Hollywood Reporter getting a little bit of more of a scoop. They have a little exclusive thing going on in parentheses. So let's just have a quick run through of this news. So, but before we start talking about the actual news for James Wan, let's go into a little bit of background on what's happened with Universal's like MonsterVerse, as they called it. So, I forgot which year was it 2016 or that taking the cue from Marvel's like just license to print money basically with MCU. Universal went into trying to get their own MonsterVerse started with their classic monsters like the Invisible Man, what else? The Mummy, which was the movie with Tom Cruise, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and some of all these like classic Universal monster movies that definitely have a lot of nostalgia and a lot of just cultural impact as far as the history of entertainment in Hollywood goes. So they were trying to get it started with the Mummy, and at the time, this is I wasn't making YouTube videos then, so I wish I did. That would have been something fun to talk about, but when I saw the movie, and my gut reaction right after, even before I saw the movie, because I even just during the lead up to it, the trailers, the kind of what they were setting up to be, and all the press that they were pushing for it, even before the movie, I just thought, okay, they're going about this the wrong way, because they were like trying to. This is what I couldn't understand with Warner Brothers, and I kind of do, and I'll talk about them a bit. I kind of know exactly probably what happened, but let's just play devil's advocate. This is what I just couldn't really wrap my head around in terms of why studios like Warner Brothers and Universal, when they were trying to emulate the MCU, why they just rushed into it. I don't get it, So Marvel was able to do what they did and what they're still doing with the MCU to diminishing returns, arguably, because they had a very, very long-term vision, and they didn't rush things. They allowed each individual character, the member of the Avengers, to have their individual stories in multiple movies in their own series that got the audience invested in the characters, and especially the audience that did not read the books, the comic books, or watch the cartoon shows, or all the previous media. This gave people a chance to sink their teeth into it and then buy in. So then it became kind of, oh, okay, I want to see what happens next. But here's the thing, though. Here's a key thing here is like, you see, just from a monetary perspective, this is actually smart. Sure, those movies all cost a lot of money, but the first Iron Man did not cost $200 million. I'm pretty sure of that. However, when they were able to make these things, they were able to, like, a successful movie is a successful movie, okay? All right? The movie ticket's going to cost $15 or, whatever. Wherever you're living, it could be lower, it could be even higher, or 3D. If it's successful, it's going to sell the tickets. So if your movie's $60 million in budget, with print and advertising, you going up to around 120 million, but you do very well, you overperform, or you perform extremely solidly, well, you're getting the same bang for you're getting the same kind of revenue from ticket sales as you would if it was a much more expensive movie. Okay, a movie ticket is going to cost as much as a movie ticket. So what I'm trying to get at here is like there's no reason to rush these things. So I really did not see the value in Warner Brothers rushing into a Justice League movie or just like teaming up right after Batman. Like was it Man of Steel? Man of Steel came first, I think. It's just like they could have milked it. They could have really established the characters like Cyborg or what was the other one? I mean, Wonder Woman got her own, so that's good. But they could have really done these ahead of time, and they kind of went about it backwards. I just don't understand. Like Justice League, a movie ticket for Justice League would earn as much as a movie ticket for Cyborg's individual movie. And given that Cyborg was, at least from a normie like me, not one of the most well-known characters as far as the general audience is concerned, okay, give him a lower budget. Hire a talented like live action director. I mean, one second, was it? Yeah, Zack Snyder, but like Neil Blomkamp, okay, or someone like that, where who knows how to like squeeze a buck for the best visual effects you can get done for that money. Do that, and then have it perform. It doesn't need to perform crazy, but you're not spending that much. So now with one, and lo and behold, let me just take a look at what the Mummy 2016. No, 2017. So the Mummy in 2017 with Tom Cruise and directed by Alex Kurtzman, which yeah, no, that guy's don't get that guy to direct your movies or run your shows, because yeah. So when they did the Mummy with Tom Cruise, they tried to do the MonsterVerse there. It's like, they were rushing it even further along. I mean, for what it was worth, it was I actually looked forward to that movie because I knew Tom Cruise would deliver in terms of action, would deliver in terms of performance. Problem is, the script. I mean, well, the script sucked. They were trying to do too much with that script. So they were even trying to jump the gun harder and faster than Warner Brothers with the DCEU. So this then became like kind of a turnaround. Okay, now it looks like now with the recent release of Invisible Man, they're doing something. They're taking a different approach. So. And I think they learned their lesson, and I wish they did that to begin with. I mean, with the amount of money they threw into the Mummy, they could have made like 2 or 3 movies establishing individual characters and concepts, and went from there. But it looks like they learned their lesson, so that's what that will take us right into these articles that came out on Variety, Deadline, and then Hollywood Reporter. So let's go into this real quick, okay? So, James Wan and Universal Pictures are teaming up for a monster movie. So they didn't say which monster, which movie yet. But so this is like that long preamble. This is like a very good sign in terms of at least Universal learning the lesson and going about it from like smaller movies over going into individual characters. So. But they're going one step further in that they're not going to bother with the shared universe thing. They're not going to do a MonsterVerse. They're just going to have director-focused films coming out in a smaller scale. Apparently, the new Invisible Man cost only $7 million, which is pretty astounding. But it made a lot of money. It made a huge bang for the buck. So I wouldn't expect them, especially with a guy like James Wan, to go that low in terms of a budget. I think, the budget they're going to throw at this is probably going to be somewhere between $30 to $60 million, maybe higher. But if this is the direction they're going, there's no reason they should be spending that much. I mean, especially with modern effects and modern techniques that they've been using on the Mandalorian stuff, they can get a lot done for a lot cheaper. So that to me is a great thing. And the budgetary constraints means that the writers, the creative staff is going to have to get actually creative. They can't just be leaning on the VFX to to blow up the box office. It doesn't freaking work like that anymore. Especially people are very finicky now. They're not going to be that impressed with just something looking pretty. You need something more so than ever before, something that really gives people really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really get people invested in the story and the characters. So, new project development happens in the glow of success of Universal's The Invisible Man, which overperformed when it opened last week. It's true. And the movie seems to reaffirm the studio's position of jettisoning the idea of an interconnected monster movie universe, something it tried to launch with Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and take a filmmaker-driven approach instead. So that's not to say, like that. Obviously, they have a string of hits, and they nail it with, they have The Invisible Man, they nail it with the next monster movie, and say, hey, James Wan, we want you to produce several more. Let's do a bunch more. And then so maybe they're not going to just throw the entire, like House of Monsters into this thing. And he's like, so at least if they chose to do that, I think they can give themselves enough of a leeway with visual and storytelling consistency to have the option of interconnecting and doing some sort of mashup, team up, or maybe a crossover thing if they so choose. There's a lot of flexibility here. So long as they have these movies coming out that are smaller and successful, then they have a lot of options. It doesn't take much for a very talented writer who cares about the properties to spin something where they can interconnect something, throw a few seeds in there, like sneak it in there so that people can literally go back to previous movies and think, wait a second, we thought, they could have, I see how they could have made that work. But, I don't think it's absolutely necessary at all. And I actually like the idea of having individual filmmakers really doing their own thing with this stuff. So, but, come on, this is Hollywood, this is a major studio. There's a lot of opportunity for synergy here, especially with Universal and their theme park. There's no reason they would turn their nose up at this if down the line things worked out and it made sense. So yeah, that was a little bit longer of a take than I wanted to. I really didn't want to edit this much, so I want to get this out there. But I mean, just talk about James Wan a little bit. He got his basically he cut his teeth on Saw, and just full disclosure, I'm not a horror movie fan. Simply because I'll just say it, I have a weak stomach for that kind of thing, and I appreciate the art, and I think it's a tremendously difficult thing to genuinely scare people. I think horror movies and comedy movies are some of the most difficult to write and pull off well. So I have a lot of respect for people that nail it time and time again. And given that this is what this writer, director, and producer started with, Saw, very influential, and then go on to do The Conjuring and just keeping it fresh. It gives a lot of, I think you're going to have a hard time finding a better hands to set this in. I certainly think he's much more capable, much more talented, and than Alex Kurtzman. But so he's got all that. He's got a lot of pedigree. I mean, there's very few people with more horror pedigree than James Wan. And on top of that, he's done really blockbuster stuff like when he Fury 7. Fast and Furious, the last one that Paul Walker was in, and Aquaman. So again, the guy's got pedigree in space. So I can't wait to see what happens. This is why. Here's the thing. This is why I'm not fully sold on Universal jettisoning the shared universe thing. I think they're very based on what happened with the previous one with Tom Cruise. I think they have every right to be very trepidatious, if I said that word correctly, very wary of going in that direction. But the fact that they got James Wan, and what he's capable of beyond horror, tells me that they want that card there, on the side, under the table, wherever. they want that there for an option, and I think he's perfectly capable of pulling it off, provided the rest of the movies and for the rest of the characters, do well. Hell, he might be the one producing a bunch of them and taking on a figure like becoming like God, like Kevin Feige. I get my Feigs and Feigs mixed up sometimes. So he might become that guy. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me for this little news update. And again, it's going to be kind of rough, so bear with me. But yeah, tell me down in the comments what you think of this new development. Are you looking forward to the new James Wan monster movie? And yeah, any other thoughts? Share, like, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you very much for joining me, and you all have a nice weekend.